TPCSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app.
2,000 years long, we will never settle. Hard days, no way, with a heavy metal. No time, no fail, won't stop here. Like a torch to a flame when it burns hot. We won't stop, come on, baby, higher. Like a torch to a flame when it burns hot. We won't stop.
From the ECSI Sports Studios and the #1 sports investors in America, we bring you the closing bell. As the market closes, legends Jeff Dawson and Riley Magnuson bring you all the sports investing tips for tonight's matchups. If you want to learn more from the two legends at the desk, make sure you stay tuned to the closing bell.
Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the world. I am the co-host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors. That time of the afternoon, we moved it up about 45 minutes, so we'll give you time to come on in. Grab yourself a nice cold beverage, a coffee, espresso, whatever to get you through the next half hour or so. I don't want to say an abbreviated closing bell here. I like to call it Re-Entry Monday. I stole it, of course, from 98.5, Felger and Maz there. But myself and Riley will talk about what we saw on the weekend, talk about some UFC, talk about the NFL, some surprises if he saw any in college. Then we'll get right back to tonight's slate. Philly and Atlanta. Philly currently 5 at the circle with a 45.5. Just looking at the team total numbers, this is 27-20 all day, but we'll see. I mean, the under-over did open at 47.5, now down to 45.5. But first, a shout-out to our proud sponsor and partnerships. That's WagerWire. Head on over to Google Play, download the app. It's free. I promise you, myself, Zach, Travis, the rest of that team, family, Amber, Holly, Jay, the list is endless. We'll take good care of you, I promise. Viva Tequila Seltzer, CT Bets, and the rest of that team and family have done an amazing job. If you haven't tried one, please do. Tell them, ECSI is cuckoo for coconut, and if you haven't tried that one, shame on you. If it is available, give that one a good try there. And last but not least, Terry Smith, Atlanta Steak and Seafood, excuse me here. Coffee hasn't kicked in, only about the 9th or 10th cup today. Head on over to Facebook, follow Terry Smith, and then when you do, done with that, jump on over, follow Atlanta Steak and Seafood, get on the website, start to connect with him. I promise you this, if you place an order today or tomorrow, you'll be cooking and grilling by the weekend. I know we are. So without further ado, my partner in crime, Mr. Riley Magnuson. What's up, champ?
What is up, my friend? Happy, you said it, Re-Entry Monday. Do a little recapping. My fault for anyone who's waiting on the expected time. That is 100% on me, but should be able to get in and out with close to our usual show time. I know Mondays typically we go a little long-winded, so might have to be a tiny bit abbreviated, but not too much in my opinion here, my friend. But we got Yeah, plenty of football going on this past weekend. Obviously, UFC at the Sphere. I mean, the Sphere looked absolutely outrageous. What a cool event there. Still didn't have any over-the-top highlights, I guess you would say, at least on the main card. But kind of a setting up some future fights potentially that would probably be pretty highly billed. So interested to see where a couple of the co-main events from this past weekend, what transpires and is set up in the future from those, if we're getting some rematches or not. So excited to see what we get out of those two divisions, out of the two title fights that we just saw. But other than that, I mean, the Sphere was fantastic, and had some fun watching football these last 2 days.
I saw the prelims. I'm going to butcher names or whatever. The minus 500, 550, the female from Mexico, facing the Brazilian plus 390. A good first round going back and forth, and then bam! The plus 3, the Brazilian, just absolutely catches her. She drops, comes over the top, chokes her out. Tap City, thanks for playing.
Yeah, that one was shocking. I know a lot of people, if you're someone who likes those easy, 3-4 legger on the big favorites, that's the one that got you for the weekend there. So, at least in UFC, and yeah, I mean it's another reason why you got to do a little bit research, even when you got a big favorite like that, because if the person on the other side's got some power like that, you might want to hedge a little bit with some knockout on the other side, which obviously it wasn't a knockout, but to win by finish on the other side of it, you know what I mean there, because that still would have been some good price there. But yeah, that one was exciting. Obviously, there was some really, I mean, there was only I think one other fight that ended in a finish. There was some exciting fights that it was kind of shocking that it didn't end in a finish. That one before that one, Shirez and Josh Van, one of the most exciting fights that didn't have a finish in it that I've seen in a long time. The exchanges that those guys had was out of control. And the one that I was high on that I talked to you about was Diego Lopez over Brian Ortega. He looked fantastic. He was, I think, just barely cracked the top 15 in that division coming into that one. But I think now he's going to be in the top 5 and is going to get, if not a title fight, he's going to have another top 5 fight before he gets a title fight. And I'll be if I could get a future on him to be the featherweight champ at some point in the next 2 years, I would go for it with Diego Lopez. He is that solid and well-rounded. So, and Valentina Shevchenko, we talked about it. She was solid as ever, and now we got a 1-1-1 situation there. So you got to get that fourth one there, especially when you can get these fights that go through these series, and the more they go on you get some bigger viewers to it. Then you got to do it, because now I think you're going to have to do that with O'Malley and Merab there, because we've talked about it before as far as the excitement factor. Merab's another one of these guys who's not going to alone flood the pay-per-view and flood the box office, but he's just so dang solid, and so you got to get some offset that with some star power like Sean O'Malley here. So you got to get a rematch here. You got to hope Sean O'Malley wins that one, because the rematch will obviously be a big ticket item there with everyone who loves Sean O'Malley. And then obviously if O'Malley wins that one and you got to go for the trilogy, then that third one's going to be a big one there. But it's almost I mean, a trilogy is great for business, especially when you have someone like Sean O'Malley leading that charge, whether or not he's the one that won or not. But if Merab would go on to win this rematch and kind of dominate Sean O'Malley and now dominate this division, it's almost bad for business when you have these guys that are just taking over the sport without being that excitement factor. No discredit to anyone and no discredit to them. They are that good and they deserve every bit of it, but they're not exactly the box office ticket guys and the highlight knockout reels. So interested to see where it goes from here. And again, don't want to poo-poo it because he's fantastic. But there's got to be some urgency for Sean O'Malley to come back and get a victory in that second one if we do get the rematch there.
Help me with the two fighters' name. It was a female, a ladies' fight, and I swear that the cut was started with a headbutt.
Oh yeah.
And listen, I was watching this fight, and as you're watching it, as soon as it happened, the blood starts coming down, blah blah blah, and then the round ended. They try to obviously, do whatever they can in between, the 1 minute in between the next round. And then gets hit, and then it just starts gushing. And every 10 seconds, the fighter can't see. And it's
Right.
like trying to wait. And I get it's UFC. I get it. It's a gladiator sport and blah, blah. But listen, that was, and again, they show you, of course, you've seen the pictures and stuff. But when they went to a commercial or in between rounds, correct me if I'm wrong here, Riley, that was started with a headbutt, correct?
I believe you're right. There were so many fights that day. I don't remember exactly, but I think you're right. And no, and it like you said, there's not really much you could do, especially because so many of these fighters have, the scar tissue that can be reopened. I'm not familiar with Aldana that much to know whether or not that's the case there, but some of these fighters have all this scar tissue. I mean, you go back to the Forrest Griffin days 20 years ago. 15, 20 years ago, and that was a mainstay in all of his fights, and it was just a bloodbath, whether or not he barely gets clipped or not. So, to your point, especially when it's going in their eyes, it looks disgusting, and it's like, how do you get around this? But, yeah, like to your point, it's a gladiator sport, so there's really not much that can be done, I guess. But when you got a situation where at least you can't see like that, it's obviously, you wish something could be done to at least fix it a little bit there, but obviously it is what it is.
It was a big night for the Mexican fighters. Hats off to UFC, hats off to Dana White. The epic event during his presser. And all the stories about Grasso, and they did some cuts and some videos. And at the end of the fight, obviously, wasn't enough. And I think Dana hit it on the head, and I'm kind of curious of your thoughts. She just didn't fire. And Dana almost made it like the event, the stage, the lead up almost got to be too big for her, but not degrading her or nothing, but it was too big of a spot.
Right, and I know it's interesting. It's like in the past, it hasn't been going this way the last few years, but I mean, for a good stretch this last 15 years or so, when you have a title fight and it seems like it's 50-50 and nobody's really doing anything, you would side with the side of the champion. And I'm not saying that necessarily was the exact case in that fight, but you side with the champion if the other side didn't do enough. But it's sometimes when the even if it's the champ and they're the ones not doing anything, you can't really give them the benefit of the doubt in a situation like that, and especially. Maybe Valentina gets the benefit of the doubt because she's one of the greatest of all time, was on a run, obviously, for, I don't know, 10-plus fights or something like that. But, no, I'm with you. I think she'll come back with, I don't know if a vengeance is the right term or more motivated next time around, because that's obviously going to be the last chance out of this saga of fights. It's not a trilogy. It's going to be the fourth fight the next time around. But maybe, because Valentina's, getting older, so even if Valentina does win that one, then maybe, she moves on later down the road and Grasso gets a chance to go back up top and reign supreme. But she's going to have to come back motivated and obviously firing a little bit more in this next one.
And, of course, it was funny because Sean in the main event was taking a ton of money, but there was a shift overnight Friday into Saturday, and it was kind of one of these almost like Joe. I always call it pros versus Joes, where I think the whole public and the whole world was on Sean, Sugar Sean, and it seemed like the sharps were on the other side there. And again, Sean isn't going anywhere, and obviously Merab himself isn't either. What was your exact thoughts on that fight? Surprised overall, or I mean, again, listen, they both are going to keep fighting here, obviously.
No, I wasn't too surprised, and again, it's for me. This one was kind of just a culmination of all these other divisions where you got guys that, again, aren't exactly the most flashy guys, but you get so much love going towards the guys like Sean O'Malley who are fan favorites or have all this excitement factor to them, and then nobody's really talking about the other guy, and the other guy just comes in on this crazy win streak, and you watch their tape, and it's just like at no point. Have they been dominated or have they really been put on the ropes? There's so many guys that are in that category now, and I'm not putting him in the same level as Makhachev because he's obviously in a world of his own right now. But it's kind of that same level where these guys are so well-rounded. They know exactly how to win these fights. And again, you almost have to knock these guys out to get the victory there. And if you're not doing that, they know how to score points. They know how to dominate these rounds. If they lose a round, they're going to figure out a way to control that next round so that they don't lose 2 rounds in a row. So, not to say that I saw this coming, because obviously Sean O'Malley is extremely talented and he's an extremely accurate striker too. So I expect this one to be a situation where Sean O'Malley can come back and get the win in this if they are to rematch here. But not surprised, but I did like Merab coming into this one, kind of just taking the playbook out of a lot of the similar fights in other divisions and similar situations here.
Wisconsin, Alabama. Wisconsin, good first quarter, and it looked good for the Badgers, looked good for the Big Ten, and then Coach DeBoer and the Crimson Tide said, hold my beer, and next thing you know, it was off to the races. Thanks for playing. Thoughts on Wisconsin, Bama, and what else did you see in the Big Ten over the weekend?
Yeah, as far as that one, I didn't watch too much of the second half after it got out of hand right at the end of the first half there. Because Wisconsin had a chance. Again, they weren't in the game, but they had a chance to cut it. I want to say it was 14-6, or I think it was 14-6. Then they miss a field goal, and then 2 plays later, within the last minute of the game, Alabama scores a touchdown, and it's basically over. But Alabama just has a little more talent. Again, I think Wisconsin is going to be on the right track eventually with Luke Fickell. I thought they'd be a little further along this year. Wasn't impressed the first 2 weeks of the season against Western Michigan and South Dakota. Kind of just ho-hum, not really imposing any will on those teams type victory. They're a well-rounded team, and they'll be a winning team here in the season and go to a bowl game. But they're another year away and still got to accrue some more talent here. With Alabama, still not sure exactly what their ceiling is and how far they can go and how good they are, but they've still got a lot of talent, obviously, and their defense is phenomenal. And I mean, in Wisconsin's case, obviously, they lose their quarterback early in the game, so that doesn't help them there. But as far as the rest of the Big Ten, I didn't get a chance to watch the Michigan game, but they kind of play grab, as you like to say, grab ass with Arkansas State a little bit there and let them back into the game a little at the end there. Oregon flexes their muscles and takes care of business against Oregon State there. What else? Washington, I think that was one I was interested in. Washington State taking care of business there and getting the upset. Washington, just kind of a transition year. I think long-term they'll be fine in the Big Ten and kind of be a dark horse year in and year out. But not going to be scaring anybody, I don't think, in Washington's case there. But outside of the Big Ten, obviously curious to see how good Washington State could be there. And then Indiana, we were talking about that game as far as Indiana being a big, or not big favorite, but favorite, 3.5 point favorites going on the road to UCLA. They kind of showed how good they could be, I think, at least against similar talent level. And UCLA certainly showed why they might be one of the worst teams in the Big Ten there. So not too much to take away other than, just for the most part, impressed that Indiana showed up and did what they needed to do and more. Washington, again, not writing them off as a 9-win team. I guess that's probably a little too much, but they'll still be a solid team, but not expecting too much there. And then Oregon bounces back like we expect. So, again, this week and I think next week, aside from a couple of games, there's 2 big games out of the Big Ten, and other than that, it'll be another couple weeks before we start getting hot and heavy. Illinois, Nebraska on Friday, my friend. That'll be a fun one for us to talk about at the end of the week.
Yeah, I can just see it now. I can just, I think we're 10-point favorites. God, you get a couple wins and the expectations start to get high. I don't know. I don't know what
8.5, by the way. 8.5.
It's down to 8.5. Okay. I did see some 10s early. So, I mean, it's going to be the defense and it's going to be the quarterback there staying in his lanes, winning the turnover battle. Let's just say I don't think they should be 8.5-point favorites over anyone, but it is what it is. I'm excited. I think we're a year ahead of schedule, so we're just taking this one game at a time there. Big game in Normandy this week. Norman, Oklahoma. Tennessee, 6-point favorites against Oklahoma. That's a big number. The Vols, hey, we don't do this often. And when I see it, I release it. Tennessee played Kent State, and we have Tyler Wyatt on. Yes, we have Tyler Wyatt on, big SEC guy, professional gambler, sports bettor, excuse me. I hate that word. And professional poker player, and has numbers second to none. And he goes, Tennessee could score 100, and then that was Wednesday on the show, and then we're jabbing back and forth as they scored 50 something at half. And I sent him a DM. No, I sent a tweet. It's no South Alabama there, and he's like, we can score 100. I was like, well, save it for Saturday. But when you see this, you got to play this. Kent State's team total in the first half was a half point juiced over, and ECSI VIPs, we of course had under, which is saying they had to shut him out, and they didn't just shut him out for the first half, they shut him out for the full game there. But excited for the Vol. 6-point favorites, a lot of points. I think a 60 now down to a 57. Georgia escapes. We had the Kentucky team total over 10.5, and they kicked 4 field goals there. 13-12, they were very fortunate to get out of Dodge. Texas moves to the number 1 spot now. Then Georgia, then Ohio State. The big move of the weekend, of course, is Ewers gets hurt. In comes Manning, and he was like plus 10,000 to win the Heisman. By the end of the game, he was plus 1,600 to win the Heisman now. So crazy stuff in college football. We got all week to talk about that. NFL, hats off to your Packers. Let's just say this. Anthony Richards, who has all the talent in the world, and he can make plays that no one else can do. He can also look as bad as anyone. I mean, good luck. We go back opening day when Zay Flowers is wide open for the game-tying touchdown and Lamar missed him by 5 yards. I'm telling you, there was some guys wide open. He couldn't hit water in a boat in the middle of the Atlantic sometimes. But listen, again, that's like his 20th game in his career, counting high school and college. So I get it. He is the future. But, Malik did enough. Jesus, you gave Jacobs 20 carries out of the first 25 plays. Thoughts on your Packers?
Yeah, again, they took what was given to them because Anthony Richardson, he had a couple critical. Again, I'm not defending him at all because he did not look fantastic. He had a couple critical, put it right on the money on a couple guys a couple different times during the game, and just flat out drops that would have helped a little bit, but there were some grenades, as I like to say, thrown in that game by Anthony Richardson there. That a couple of them went to the Packers defense there. So, no, as far as Malik Willis, I would have liked them to maybe give him a couple more passes to get the Colts defense off their balance a little bit, because in the second half, it was a lot harder to run the ball in that second half. It was a little more expected there. Having said that, the Packers, Josh Jacobs fumbled at the goal line, so probably should have been 17-0 in that first half there, and almost all she wrote at that point. So very, very pleased with the defense. Very, very happy with the run game in that one. You get a Malik Willis, assuming Jordan Love's not back, you get a Malik Willis revenge game at Tennessee this upcoming Sunday. So very curious to see what plays out with that one there. But I'm very, very proud of the game plan that was put out there, because obviously they stuck to it. They kind of had to stick to the run in a lot of cases, but even when the run is working that well as it was in the first half, there's been times where they get away from it. Obviously, it's a different case with Malik Willis at the helm there, and you kind of have to stick to it. But you had to get a win out of these next 2 weeks without Jordan Love. Obviously, if he's gone more than 2 weeks, then it's a different conversation there. But had to get at least one of these 2 games to keep them, from starting 0-3 without Jordan Love there. So very, very excited moving forward here, and hoping Jordan Love comes back soon as ASAP as possible there. But can tread water a little bit. Feeling a little better about that, especially going into Tennessee here. Obviously, a little nervous, Malik Willis going on the road, but again, it was just where he came from 3 weeks ago. So I'm very curious to see what we see out of Malik Willis going back to Tennessee a month after he left there.
Fantasy guys, injuries, and more injuries. I had to get out of the office for a little while just to clear my head. Geez, in our online championship to win the overall, there's 4,107 teams. So you got 12 team leagues, and if you win your league, you get the week 15 to 17 with about 8 or 900 other people. If you win your head to head. If you're the head-to-head champs, you get in, and then the top 10% get in. So there'll be about 800, 900 teams fighting for a 3-week race. You take your 14 weeks scores, and then you average it out, and then you race the next 3 weeks for $250,000. We were fourth to start the week out of 4,107. Now we're ninth, but we got a bunch of teams. I'm managing, I think, 19 total, and the Pachecos, the Cups now, the Pukas, Joe Mixon. The list is endless. They're just dropping like flies, and Jefferson gets hurt. And it's just one after another. And I don't even want to say survive in advance. Here, I was proactive. We drafted Carson Steele on a lot of teams late, and I went in and swooped in P. Ryan on the waiver wire on a lot of teams. Pacheco, I heard 12 weeks. Now I'm reading 6 to 8 weeks. So what do they do? Let's Kareem Hunt. Why don't you come back? And then who's next? Jamal Charles? I mean, how far do I got to go back in? Jesus. But the injuries are brutal right now. So just take a breath, breathe. All will be well there. Across the circa now, 2 weeks. NFL, not for long. Any given Sunday. Anyone that's an ECSI VIP member or that has been with us for almost 10 years, you know what I preach on Sunday. We bust our ass Monday through Saturday. We grind. Saturday 4-1 for the week, up 3 units. I either throw out a little action parlay to scratch that itch, or I'll send out one game, which we lost yesterday. Bengals team total under 20 and a hook. We lost. But my point is, again, we won over 2.5 units for the week. It's Envelope Monday. We're all happy. Unlike another 4,000+ that are out of the circuit contest. And if the Bears would have found a way to complete a pass or two, another 2,400 would have been out. But my point is, guys, if you had the Saints and Derek Carr being 15 for 15 in possessions and scoring to start the year, and your bingo card, God bless you. The number 1 octane, highest rated offense in the NFL. You had them going into Dallas and boat racing, God bless you. You had Vegas coming into the Ravens and winning outright, God bless you. The list is endless. Dogs 10-4-1, never mind the outrights. Passing yards have never been lower. I mean, I could go on and on here. I mean, I watched, of course, because the Red Zone and the ticket, 10 games at 1 o'clock. It was like on crack trying to keep up with all these games. And then at 4 o'clock, I got 3 games, and one of them, Denver and Pittsburgh, looked like the high school game, Barnstable and Brockton, I watched on Friday night. I was looking for the leather helmets, Riley. I'm like, how bad is this?
That was an Iowa versus Northwestern football game right there, my friend. That's what you're getting out of the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's Iowa football right there. I mean, thankfully the Chiefs Bengals was at least entertaining for that afternoon window there, because obviously the third game was a blowout right from the jump. So unless you had any Cardinals action, you were not happy with that one there, but. Yeah, I mean, 10 games at once. I know. I think they are shifting away from it in the future here, but I mean not Bengals, Ravens and Raiders game. They're up by 10, and there's so many games going on. You forget about it. And then the next thing you know, they're tied, and the Raiders are trying to win the game. So that one was outrageous. I think the Ravens will be fine long term. However, their schedule is a little concerning to start 0-2 like that. These next few weeks, at least, I should say. They've got the Cowboys, Bills, Bengals.
They play Dallas this week.
Yeah, at Cowboys, home for the Bills, and then at the Bengals the next 3 weeks. So are they still a good team? Yes, but their MO as far as being a team that when they're up, they're going to be impossible to catch because they can run out the clock. obviously it didn't happen the other day, so I don't think that's going to be a lingering concern, but that one was a shocking end to that game, especially the way that Raiders offense looked for the majority of that game. So I was surprised to see that one. Jets-Titans was kind of an ugly watch. The Jets finally kind of just ho-hum willed their way into that one, and Brock Purdy, ugliest game he's probably played thus far. I know they're banged up and had some other injuries that banged him up a little bit there, but not his best-looking game in Minnesota there.
Shout out to Mr. Sailor. He says Willis equals Marino. I friggin' knew it. LOL. Hey, you know what? I was watching that game, Russell, and Taylor was running the ball fine. And then I guess the coach says, well, we were passing too much in the third and fourth quarter because his touches were minimal. I liked the commentators even saying Taylor coming back home, of course, played at Wisconsin.
Yeah.
You could have had a little Taylor revenge factor there. But I take the OC and I blame that there. Again, even if you're throwing, I'm dumping it to Taylor because at least Richardson has a better shot at completing a dump pass than trying anything over 10 yards. I mean, geez. And the shocker is on the Hail Mary. He came up short. I'm like, if anyone, you know what I said, Riley? I told my buddy, I'm like, this guy is going to throw it out of the end zone into the crowd and then do a Lambeau leap. And then he came up short.
Right, and I can't remember if it was that drive or another one. Was it Greg Olsen? I can't remember who Greg Olsen was with. Somebody who was like, this guy might be able to launch it 95 yards from the 5-yard line here. And then he comes up 5-10 yards short. So that was bizarre. But he's obviously got to play better going forward because this Colts team has got some spunk to him. They've got some guys, and I mean Houston starting off the way they did obviously hurts everyone else in that division because they look really solid. Jacksonville though, Trevor Lawrence, I didn't get. I mean, there's 10 games. It was hard to watch. Keep an eye on every single game. But from what I saw from that, he looked about as bad as he's looked since he's been at Jacksonville. So. Another team that's got some guys. We've seen it before these last couple of years where they just go on a 6-7, 6 out of 7 type run that they still might be able to. But it's ugly right now. I am not putting any faith in Trevor Lawrence at this point. Whether or not, obviously they just invested a ton of money. They temporarily renamed the stadium after him for a day, and then he puts up a performance like that. So. If they're not careful, I mean, there's going to be some coaching changes mid-season to right the ship potentially here. I don't know what to expect there, but he was ugly yesterday.
And again, I will say this. I actually believed in him. In fantasy, he was going at a price where he made a great number 2, and if someone got hurt, you could move in. I was talking to someone on Twitter today. I have never seen more false starts, more people lined up in the wrong place. I don't know if it's Coach Peterson, the OC, or Goldilocks, but all three of them got their head up their ass. And then Ingram. All these guys are divas. Oh, my God. So our waiver wire's on Wednesday. So now we watch a game on Thursday and we get ready for Friday. There is a waiver wire on Saturday. You set your lineups on Sunday and you enjoy the games. Well, A.J. Brown all of a sudden comes up and you're questionable, doubtful, he gone. But the worst of all worst is Evan Ingram, who I have on 3 teams, and his bye week's 12, okay? Wasn't on the report all week, so I'm running tight end bare so I can pick up an additional wide receiver or running back. I have no second tight end. My buddy goes, you don't want to look at this. I was like, what are you talking about? Evan Ingram out. I was like, what are you talking about? What do you mean he's out? He hasn't been on the report all week. He pulled a hammy during warm-ups. Guys, are you kidding me?
Jeff, I in my main, I have a dynasty league that is my most maybe not most. It's not the highest money league that I'm in, but highest point of pride and the one that I root for the hardest. I had David Njoku. I lost. There's rules for dynasty. I lost Kyle Pitts to a steal. Had David Njoku get hurt. I was desperate. Traded for Evan Ingram. And luckily, my buddy texted me. I was busy. I didn't get home until right at noon. Luckily, I'm out and about. My buddy texted me. Same situation, and I've got Tucker Kraft as my number 2 option. Get me 3 points. 3 points better than nothing. Long story short, it would have been fine any other way. I'm winning by at least 10 now, but for me, I traded for him on Tuesday, or I don't even know what day it was, Tuesday, Wednesday, and I'm coming in with that after I'm desperate for him.
And the funny is, I told my partner here, I was like, listen, we take the 0 with pride. He got us a whopping 1.2 last week, so well be it. We'll miss the 1.2. I know you got a scheduled appointment coming up now. I'm going to go over some team totals in the MLB. I'm going to make it easier on us today, and then we'll talk about the NFL game, and we'll get you on your way here. Tough games in the MLB today. There's some stenches. It's Paul Skeens Day, of course, there. And the Mets, I think, are now tied with the Braves for that final spot. And it's funny because it's the perfect scenario. It's the Nationals. So Mets Nation now can get up with their chests like this because it's the Nationals. They'll lose 2 out of 3 here. You watch. So just buyer beware there. But if you like the Mets tonight, team total over 4.5 plus 120. This one, do not take the juice side. One site, Dodgers team total over 3.5 minus 140. Do not take that. If you like the Dodgers and the team total today, there's another site, shop around, 4.5 juice under minus 145. So you can get the Dodgers plus 125. They got to get to 5 or better. Last night, during a football commercial, I switch over to the Braves on ESPN. 2-2, bottom of the 8th, second and third, no outs. And there's this horse on pitching that is sweating through his uniform proficiously. And his last name's Kopech, hitting 100, 101, 101, strikes out the next 3 guys. I mean, what could the White Sox or Red Sox use there? So, anyways, I wake up the next morning. Dodgers put up a touchdown and an extra point in the 9th and win 9-2. You can't script that, Riley. You can't script it.
No, I know there were some people that were rooting for the over that were happy with that present under their tree in the next morning there. So, no, you said it, though. They are tied for that last wild card spot. I actually will be not as much fanfare as we were hoping for back when we planned it, but I'll be in St. Louis this weekend for a Cardinals and Guardians game on Saturday.
Awesome.
So we were hoping for a little bit of a two-way, both teams fighting for a little more. Cleveland obviously trying to hold serve in the division there, but St. Louis going to be a little too late as far as a wild card race is concerned there. But should at least be some fun. Hopefully seeing a little bit of drama if Cleveland is close in that division there in the AL Central.
St. Louis can play spoiler there for you. You'll see some action. In Colorado, 8:40 start. Arizona at Colorado. This one's a little fun one. D-backs team total over 6.5 plus 110. You need a touchdown and the extra point. If you get a 2-point conversion, it's a bonus. So D-backs got to get to 7 or better. You can get that at plus 110. Angels team total over 4.5. You can get that at plus 105. If you like the Cubs tonight against Oakland, you can take their team total over 4.5 at even money. And that will do it in baseball. Falcons and Philly, team totals currently. Eagles, 27.5 under, minus 160. Atlanta, 20.5 juiced under, minus 130. Or there's a spot at 20 over, minus 120. So again, I think Atlanta gets to 20 or less. And if you, listen, this is pizza and beer money, extra cheese, extra pepperoni, 10 days off. I don't know what to expect. But if you're going to give me an opportunity to take the Philadelphia Eagles and their team total to get to 28, 29, 30 or whatever, and you're going to give me plus 140 on it, I'll take it. So 27.5 juice under, minus 160 right now. So if you want some beer and pizza and some fun money, whatever, Eagles team total over 27.5, and that's at plus 140. Again, when you really crunch these numbers, The final score that I'm reading right now is 27-20. But those are props, those are funny money, and that's all plus money.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how it goes. Obviously, we've seen how some of these teams bounce back after week one and ugly performances. So curious to see how Atlanta responds. I mean, again, Philly is a harder question to say what do they look like, whatever it is, 9. Oh, no, it is 10 days because it's Monday. 10 days. 10 days off from Brazil. Obviously, Packers, for the most part, obviously different story with different quarterback, looked fine after their layoff coming back from Brazil there. So I do expect the Eagles' offense to look good. Curious what this Falcons' offense looks like after obviously getting their behinds whooped by the Steelers' defense last week. Hopefully have some, for their sake, have some sense of urgency to them here tonight. And again, like you said, 20 points would be a much more, a bigger improvement from what we saw from them last week. That might be some good action their way a little bit on that side of things. I'm curious to see how it goes. I'll go on, again, not trying to disagree with you because I 27-20 is a fantastic analysis. I'll say 23-19. I'll go with the goofy score. Eagles win 23-19. Falcons cover. That's my guess for tonight.
I'm going to go off the limb on both of these here. I'm going to go for the Atlanta side. Get your props ready for this one. Darnell Mooney, first TD and anytime touchdown.
We're starting to think alike on these anytime touchdowns or first-time touchdowns. Because Dotson, I mean, obviously that's the other side of things. Dotson, though, I know who you mentioned last week, didn't really end up seeing him. Curious to see what we'll see out of him tonight. They're right next to each other on my list here. But Mooney, 20-1 first touchdown, 330 for an anytime, plus 330.
All right, and for the Philly side, God, you know what? I'm looking for a flyer here. I think they still have him over there. I don't know who the three's going to be today. Is there a Quez Watkins still over there?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, give me the list of their wide receivers.
Wide receivers, obviously Devontae Smith. Let's see down the line here, Jahan Dotson. I mean, I guess obviously more likely here. I'd have to go. Let me get their depth chart because I don't know. Once we get down the line, I don't know if I haven't seen them to this point. Eagles depth chart. You've got Devontae Smith, obviously. Jahan Dotson, Johnny Wilson, I think is the next highest, 28-1 first time, 600 plus 600 on the anytime.
I'm just gonna go to the well. Give me Godot first touchdown and anytime.
13-1 first and 225 on the anytime touchdown, my friend.
And he should. I assume he's probably minus 130, or are they getting cutesy and give you plus 130? Anytime touchdown for Barkley, he's got to be chalk, right?
Minus 190 for an anytime touchdown. 4-1 on the first time. Actually, more likely to score 2 touchdowns than he is to score the first touchdown. He is 3-1 to score 2 touchdowns.
And hey, people, before you run to the window and take out your Christmas clubs and your 401ks because it's a guaranteed, let me just tell you something. Go back to the log last year and look at Philly's first game and look at what DeAndre Swift did. And then look what he did after that. So I know Barkley and Swift, 2 different runners. I get all that. And I know they're going to want to feed the beast here. I know that. Trust me, I do. So do the books. If you're going to go lay 190 or whatever it is on it anytime, shame on you. But if you want to take a swing, 400 on the plus, fine. But I like Mooney. I like Godard. It's just for fun. Anything from you, sir?
I will. It is right around even money. I'll go with a Jalen Hurts 6-1 and even money on the anytime for Jalen Hurts. And then would have loved to see a little more Kyle Pitts action to think that anything has changed into this year. But obviously it's 1 week and he did score a touchdown. But I'll stay away from Kyle Pitts. You did take Darnell Mooney right out of my mouth. I was ready to come to the table with that one, my friend. But I will go I'll go Algier. I like my backup running backs. I'll go Algier, 290 on the anytime. Maybe not a first time for a backup running back because he's probably not going to be in there for those first couple drives around the goal line. But I'll go 290 on the anytime touchdown. How about that?
Closing thoughts, sir.
Closing thoughts, as always, gearing up for another good week here. We've got some fun football later in the week, my friend, to talk about. The only Big Ten game that we didn't mention, Michigan USC. Big game to get Michigan kind of that respect back. Big game for USC to jump up into the potentially top 10 and make their claim as a contender here, dark horse for the or a contender for certain for the playoff, and then a dark horse for the whole thing. But outside of that, just moving along. Happy with we got football and no huge. I don't think there's any UFC event this weekend. There's a contender series the next couple of weeks here. That's why I was tripping up there. But so nothing too crazy there other than football and baseball, my friend. We are winding down the end of September here into the playoffs. So it is going to be a fun next week and a half, 2 weeks, 3 months here.
Yeah, we got 2 weeks, and we'll start playoff baseball. That's going to be a blast, of course. Shout out to Sports Grid. When was Saturday? Saturday. Adam Kaufman, Brady, Kannon. Not one, not two, but 3 segments. We took up a whole half hour just talking college football from 7:30 to 8 o'clock. So thank you, Sports Grid. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Brady. Thank you to Matthew George, the program director, for giving me a shout out there. Tomorrow, Andrew McGinnis at 11:05 for the Breakfast Bankroll. Currently, no guest yet. Wednesday, Brady Kannon with Tyler Wyatt. Thursday, Paul Stones with Cam Stewart debuting at 11:30. And Friday, of course, the NCAA Insiders. As Riley said, no Gamlu this week, no UFC. We giving him a week off until he comes back next Thursday there. Ron Marmolevsky will be back Thursday at 5 o'clock talking NCAA and NFL. Me and Riley will be back tomorrow, 5 o'clock, or maybe a little earlier if he's available. Otherwise, 5 o'clock here. And Scotty Webb will be back tomorrow at 6:15 for In the Batter's Box. So, for myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Investor, one and only Riley Magnuson at Riley_Magnuson, the one. We wish everyone a blessed day, a great even new start to the week. ECSI VIPs, enjoy Envelope Monday, and we'll see you on Tuesday.